Good morning. I don't know what I just did. Okay, anyways, good morning. So, I just want to start off by saying thank you for giving me a couple of days to process and get everything emotionally. It's still not great, but um, I'm trying to get motivated and actually put makeup on today, and I've got a bunch of stuff I got to do. So I figured I would do a festive look. Although now that I'm looking at it in the camera, it looks like it says oh 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 instead of ho ho ho. So oh 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 O'Reilly's Auto Parts. I don't know. I can't turn it around because the other side is like not like this. So we oh and Owen today, I guess. Hey Mary. So I'm going to do my makeup and I'm going to kind of tell you what's been going on the last couple days. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Tony, Unstable Tony, and this is Mentally Unstable Makeup. It's where I therapeutically do my makeup and I talk about my shitty ass life. Um, so I'm going to go with the Juvia's Place. I have been really loving this foundation. Even though it's not exactly my right shade, the coverage is amazing. It's amazing. And it goes on extremely full coverage, but it doesn't feel thick and heavy on the skin, which is what I really, really, really like. Okay, so as many of you know, and some of you don't, I have a very complex special needs son who's currently in a mental health facility. It's a level 4, which is a lockdown, like pretty intense therapy facility. So after fighting with the mental health system, like I have for the last 15 freaking years, I finally got them to agree to do another full psychological evaluation. He had one done previously. Good morning, guys. But it was a long, I think he was like 8 or 9 when that one happened, and he's 15 now. So there's some suspicions of possibly having like personality disorder issues. And in order to get that clinical diagnosis, we have to have this evaluation in order to state it clearly. It also is going to help us come up with a more clear, better treatment plan for him, because obviously the treatment plans that we currently have been doing haven't worked. None of the medications have worked. I mean, and there's been 4 or 5 pages worth of medication trials over the years, and we've not found anything that works. So after years of fighting, I'm finally getting this evaluation. Okay, so I had an appointment on Thursday to which I had to drive all the way down to Fayetteville to do an intake. And my understanding when I made this appointment was that we were going to go, they were going to gather his lengthy medical history, and then we would start the process or the appointment to do the 3 assessments we were needing for his psychological. Well, I get down there, and first of all, the front desk chick is kind of giving me some shit because there's me, there's him, and then there's the director of the facility and a staff member and another staff member. And she was like, well, due to COVID, we can't all. I was like, no, you need to find a bigger room. Like, all of these people's input is detrimental to his information, to his medical history. And so with a little bit of fighting, I finally was able to get them to allow him and allow all these people to go back. Well, we get back there, and the first lady comes in, and she was like, "So why are we here?" And I said, "Well, it was my understanding that this was, the first appointment of four, for the psychological shape tape. I haven't found anything any better. I don't know. I've tried several different kinds, and I haven't found anything that works any better, that doesn't crease in all of my wrinkles. I have very wrinkly eyelids and very wrinkly under eyelids. And this is the only thing, I mean, and don't get me wrong, this creases a little bit, but not near as bad as the other ones that I've tried. So, okay. So we get back there, and she was just like, "Well, this is an evaluation today." And she was like, "Basically, you and I are going to get some information for about 45 minutes, and then the doctor's going to come in for about 15-20, and we'll discuss medication options." And I'm like, "I don't need med management. Like, he gets med management at the facility that he's at, and he's currently baselined, which means he's not on any meds whatsoever right now." And I did that. Well, he chose that, let's just be honest. But I was glad I was already on the path of choosing that, so that we could get a clear picture of him, who he is, without any altering factors. So she was like, "Well, if you don't need med management, then why are you here?" And I'm like, "Well, because we have to have these assessments." And I labeled them off, and she was just like, "Well, we don't do that here." And I was like, "Well, I know that. On the phone, the lady told me I'd have to do the intake here, and then that the assessments will take place in Jacksonville, but that we had to come to this appointment in order to get the recommendation for those assessments in your Jacksonville location." And she was like, "No." She was like, "Whoever he sees at the facility could have recommended that." And I'm like, "Then why did I drive 4 hours down here to get that recommendation?" Like, I was so confused. And she was like, "Well, do you want to continue? Because we're already 7 minutes into this, and we have other appointments." And I was like, whoa. I was pissed at that point. Okay. So I'm looking at the facility, and I'm just like, "Did you guys know that?" And they were like, "No, we weren't told that we could do that." And I'm just like, okay. So I'm trying to call my care coordinator, and I'm trying to get a hold of some fucking buddy to help advise me on what I need to do. Because what I didn't want to do was tell this lady, "Okay, well, we don't need this appointment," and go back to the facility trying to make this appointment, and then turn around and then that not end up being the case. So after calling them, and they were confused too, because they were under the same impression that I was, that we had to go to this intake appointment and get the recommendation for the assessments. This is the Iconic Brow Cushion. It's my favorite brow product. And I know this is going to look crazy, but you got to trust the process. And this is just a BH Cosmetics angled brush. Why does it keep going blurry? Blurry. Sorry, guys. So after about 15 minutes of confusion and frustration and aggravation, I finally was just like, "Look, let's just continue so that we can get the recommendation from you guys, since it's your facility in Jacksonville that's going to be doing the assessments." She was like, "Well, we're going to have to hurry through this." Like, I was pissed. She just kept complaining about how she was hungry and, blah, 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 blah. And I was getting really irritated, because I was like, how can I catch you up on 15 years of information of his extensive medical history, and you're rushing me? I was so upset. So she does her little thing, asks the questions. Of course, Con's there. And so, some of his answers, I'm looking at the lady, and I'm like, he's not the best historian. That's not exactly historically accurate. Blah, blah, blah. And she was just like, "Well, it's okay. We're just going to go off of what he says." And I'm like, he's a mentally ill patient. Like, are you serious right now? I'm like, you know, so she's typing. It actually ended up only taking like 20 minutes, I guess, because she was in such a effing hurry. And she's like, okay, that's all I need. Thanks. The doctor will be in with you in a minute. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? What just happened? So I'm frustrated. She leaves. The facility people, like the coordinator and the staff that came and all that, they're over there like kikiing, like they have no care in the fucking world. They don't give a shit of what just transpired with me. They gave zero input as far as like how he's been since he's been at the facility. Like, they didn't even ask that. Like, I'm so confused at this point, and Con's just kind of sitting there like, why are we here? And I'm like, I don't know, whatever. So the doc comes in. He seems very intelligent. It's an older gentleman, and he seems like he's kind of done this for a long time. And he even said that. He's like, I've done this for a long time. Because, when he first came in, I was like, look, some of the stuff that she wrote down is not historically accurate. I said she went off of what Con's answers were, and they weren't exactly correct. And see, this is where Con gets upset with me, because he doesn't always remember things the way they really happened. His reality of what he thinks things happened in certain moments is not always accurate. And so in his mind, he feels like I over-exaggerate, or like I'm making stuff up to try to keep him in these facilities. But I'm not. It's just he doesn't remember, or blocked it out, or whatever. And I'll give you a perfect example. So, well, let me finish with the whole facility thing. So this guy comes in, and he was like, so I guess you're not looking for med management. You're really just looking for a recommendation to get these assessments. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, that was the whole point. When I called to make the appointment, I was very clear about that. And they had explained to me that I had to come see you first, and get that recommendation. And he was like, well, you didn't exactly have to go that way, but that's fine. I can make those recommendations for you. So we finally got the recommendation. Small victories, right? Small victories. Okay. So I get, that was ridiculous. Like, to go and drive all the way there for that. Like, that was it. That was it. I did get to see Con. He's grown about 2 feet since he's been there. He's like 6'1". Oh! He's like 6'1" now, but he's super skinny. Like, I sunk in, skeletal looking skinny. And I kind of mentioned it to the coordinator at the facility. I was like, look, he's never been this skinny. And she was like, he eats all the time. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like, well, I said, it's just something I want you guys to keep an eye on for me. That it's abnormal for him to be this skinny. And she kind of blew me off. Imagine that. So they have to leave because they drove, not quite as far as me, but they drove about an hour from the facility. And so they're like in a hurry to fucking leave. I'm going to use my Charisma, by Kaleidos, my contour kit. Since I've got this thing, this has been my new favorite. This one and the Juno & Co. I love those. Okay, so they leave, and I'm just kind of sitting in the parking lot trying to like process what just happened. And I call my care coordinator, and she's just like, I'm so sorry. She was like, I've had this happen with this company before. she was like, but hey, at least we got the recommendation, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So the next day, I had 3 appointments. I had his CFT. I had my very first family therapy session, which, by the way, was supposed to start like a month ago, and all that. So I'm trying to drive back from Fayetteville and have these appointments. Well, I needed to stop and get gas anyways, and I'm so freaking glad that I pulled over to have the CFT meeting instead of been driving, because I'd have wrecked my damn car. I was so fucking pissed off. So the CFT starts, and the first thing out of this bitch's mouth, excuse my language, but it really upset me. She's talking about how she needs to know from partners what she needs to say because he didn't get authorized to still be there based on his criteria. And so she's ready to move him to another facility. And I'm like, what we're not going to do, is base my kid's care on the fact that you didn't fill out the paperwork correctly and aren't going to get funding. Like, that pissed me off. That made me, I was shaking. I was so mad at this point because this seems to be the pattern. They're more concerned about them getting their money than what's going to be the best action of care for these kids. Like, how dare you? How dare you? Because I was telling them, I was like, first of all, that's ridiculous. I was like, we don't even have family therapy sessions set up. My first appointment's today, talking about Friday. I said, and so you're talking about moving him. If you move him, we have to start brand new with a new therapist, brand new with a new med doctor. I said, and at the last meeting, we all were under the same agreement as a team, as his treatment team, that we were not going to move him until these clinical assessments were completed so that we had a better idea of what exact kind of treatment and what exact type of level of care that he was going to need before we moved him. And she was just like, well, I understand that, Miss Boyd, but at the end of the day, we have to get authorization. And if we don't get authorization, then he can't be here. So at that point, Partners was actually on the phone call. I'm going to go into this Melt palette because I need a red, and I'm going to use this red right here. So my care coordinator for my MCO Partners, she jumps in, and she was like, well, Asia, she was like, you know, first of all, what we're not going to do is abruptly move him. She nicely, in the nicest way, basically was telling her that, honey, you fucked up the paperwork, that you need to resubmit the paperwork. And apparently they had already called her and told her that she didn't fill it out accurately, because there were a few incidences that happened where Con put his hands on another peer and where he got into a staff member's face that were not listed on this authorization paper to get him approved for another 90 days or whatever. So then my care coordinator from the MCO starts getting a little pissy with the facility because she was like, you know, based on continuing of care, you can't just, you know, shift him without probable cause. And right now, we're in the middle of an assessment and haven't even started family therapy. She said, which, by the way, that was requested a month ago. Why is it just now starting? And so at that point, I was like, well, the email was sent to Mr. Parker, who was also on this call, who's Con's therapist. I said, the email was sent the day of our last CFT. it was 2.5 weeks later before I received a phone call to even set up this appointment. So the MCO went off in a professional, respectful manner about, what are the barriers? Like, why, basically yelling at them for, why are y'all taking your sweet ass time with this family therapy? And this mother father tried to pin it on me. He was like, well, Miss Boyd started a new job, and so her schedule's a little more jammed up, and so we had a little bit of a scheduling issue. And I said, okay, fine. If you want to blame it on me and make it my issue, that's fine. I'll take that. I'll be more tenacious about when you actually give me a call back or not. So he tried to pin it on me. He tried to make it my fault that he didn't call me for 2 weeks. And I mean, this is the kind of bull crap that goes on with my son's care all the time. All the time. The appointment that we went to, the reason it took so long is because I had an original date of November 19th and the facility couldn't make that one. And so I had to call and reschedule it. Well, last Thursday was the only thing they had available other than that. So that's not my fault. Don't try to pin that on me. And if you're not going to be accommodating and transport him in a timely fashion, then that's on you if you're not getting paid. That's on you for you to fill out the paperwork to be authorized correctly. That's not Con's fault. That's not my fault. Yesterday was a shit show. Thursday and Friday was a shit show. And this is the kind of stuff that I have to deal with on a daily freaking basis. And see, now it's my responsibility. I have to, for these assessments, the doctor told me that they would call me to set them up, but I can't wait for them to call me. I have to, on Monday, start robo-dialing to try to get a hold of somebody down there to try to make this crap happen in a timely fashion. Because now they're talking about discharging him out to a lower level of care, and I'm in a damn panic. Are y'all still watching? Like, nobody's commented. Sorry. So I'm going into this palette, which is the Zeesea, Zeesea. It's the Alice in Wonderland palette. I bought it mainly just because the packaging was gorgeous, but I actually have really enjoyed the formula that's in here. So I'm going to go into this really dark red to go with this red. So, anyways, fast forward to our family therapy session. So, the therapist that handles Con, I have said it before, I don't feel like he is qualified to handle a complex situation like what Con is, because it takes somebody who's done this for a very long time, who can see through the bullshit and the manipulation, because my kid is very intelligent on top of his mental illness, to really be able to help him. Well, this therapist, so Con gets on there, and Con's past the honeymoon phase right now in this facility. And so at this point, Con is saying and doing whatever he thinks is going to get him out of this facility, because he doesn't want to be there anymore. He says he wants to come home, but that's not necessarily the truth. He just doesn't want to be there anymore. And so he's smart enough to know that if he says certain things, I'm going to go into this right here, and I'm just going to use that kind of like a little topper. It looks like this. And I'm just going to kind of, just because I want to add some shimmer in there. and not have it be just straight red. So we're having this family therapy session, and we bring up one of the situations. And this is where it really plays into my son's psychological issues. So we're discussing an example of where Con struggles to process information. And there was a situation where I was cutting a watermelon for him and Waylon, and Con assumed that I was going to say something about him eating 4 pieces, even though I didn't say anything, and I didn't care. It was watermelon, but because Con had got it in his head that I was going to say something, he starts to get triggered over it. So I haven't done anything, I haven't said anything, but he assumed I was going to, and so he starts popping off. Okay. Well, during that time, he grabs the big knife that I was cutting the watermelon with and starts, waving it in front of my face, talking about, you always do that, was doing it in a very threatening manner. Okay. So because of that, I had Waylon run upstairs, and I walked outside, and at that time, I called his care team, his ACT care team, and was like, hey, he's got this knife. He's waving it around, threatening to cut me with it. Y'all need to do something. This is getting out of hand, And because I was outside talking to these people, Con overheard me, got pissed off, and starts ranting and raving and all of that. So I'm going into blood money, and I'm going into crocodile tears. And I don't know if this is going to be the shade that I want or not. If not, I've got another palette over here that I may grab. So that was how that really happened. Well, when Con was talking about it in the family therapy, he said that I was just freaking out for no reason. And I said, okay, son, why was I freaking out though? Why was I on the front porch telling people that I was afraid for my safety and for my other kids' safety? Why was I doing that? And he was like, I don't know, because you overreact to stuff. And I'm like, son, do you not remember having the knife and threatening me with it? And he's like, there wasn't any knife. I didn't have any knife. What are you talking about? He legit doesn't even remember the knife being there. So yet again, this is another situation where he feels like mom is making stuff up to make him seem like a monster. But I'm not. It's just he doesn't remember the reality of the situation. And in his mind, that never happened. What do you do with that? And so that's what I'm asking the therapist. And he was just like, well, we're not going to discuss that because Con obviously doesn't remember the knife. So there's no point in getting into that. Excuse me? And he was like, well, Miss Boyd, it sounds like you are trying to tit for tat and prove to Con what he's not going to admit or doesn't remember happening. And I said, no, I don't give a shit about that. I said, does it not concern you in the slightest that he had this knife and was threatening me with it, and that he doesn't remember any of that, and he thinks that I'm making that up? And the therapist doesn't think that's a concern. And I'm dumbfounded at this point. I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? And so we're processing that, and I was just basically I was told to just let that go. I was just told to let it go, and that there was no point in discussing it because Khan's not going to remember it. Which I get that. Okay, I get that. I'm not trying to get Khan to admit that he had a knife. I'm blown away that Khan doesn't even remember the knife being there or threatening me with it. So I'm just kind of like, okay. So the therapist is like, okay, Khan, well, in that situation, your mom felt threatened or whatever. What can you do the next time something like that happens, to ensure that she feels safe? Well, Khan's answer was, I'm just not going to do it again. And the therapist was like, okay, all right, great. What? What? Like, and I'm supposed to just accept that. I'm supposed to just accept that and just be like, okay, he said he's not going to do it again. Like, I'm trying to find my green. There we go. I mean, is anybody else, like, am I alone in thinking that that is ridiculous? That just because my son says, oh, well, I'm not going to do it again, that, and this is what I was trying to explain to the therapist too. We've heard all this before. Like, Khan has done this before where he's just like, oh, I know better now and I'm just not going to do it. It's like he knows what to say to get out of these facilities. And then as soon as he gets out, he gets home, he's unstable drastically again, and then we end up repeating this same cycle. So I'm like telling the therapist, I'm just like, I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable for me, and he's not going to do it again. I've heard it all before, and that doesn't make me feel safe or confident about him coming home. Like, I don't know, guys. I'm going back into this blood money because of the divine intervention. Guys, holy crap at this shade, okay? It is my favorite inner corner highlight. And you're getting ready to see why as soon as I can find my damn... There it is. I love this shade. Like, it looks white in the pan, but wait until you see it on the inner corner. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. So that, if you followed this whole thing, that is why emotionally I'm just kind of trying to sit here and process all this because, he's really not any different than when he went in there. He's just gotten better at manipulating. And so now I'm kind of like, great, he's going to come home and we're just going to continue this freaking cycle again. And I mean, these therapists and stuff, they don't live it. They don't live it. And they don't understand the fear and the severity of it. And it's stressful. And it's very hard. This is the Tarte Lights, Camera, Lashes. So anyways, that's me complaining about my life and the mental health system and how crappy it is and me continuing to try to fight. I am still supposed to be having a conversation with the CEO at Partners, but he wanted to have a conversation with me about all that I've been through and like where the balls are being dropped and stuff. during our experiences with all of these different facilities and the different levels of care and stuff like that. But he wants to not do that until Con is stable and we get these assessments and that we have a clear like treatment plan for him. So I feel like that got put on the back burner. Meanwhile, there's still some major mishaps happening in his current level of care. And what I don't understand about that too is these people know that Partners, his MCO, is watching every fucking step of this. But yet they're still trying to pull shit. Like with the whole family therapy, we were supposed to start these sessions and have them like weekly, if not bi-weekly, over a month ago. And I had my first one Friday. And that's not my fault. That guy can try to blame me all he wants to, but that was not my fault. And I mean, I try to be understanding because I get it. My son is not the only kid that they have there. But at the same time, like, if this is the type of care that you are giving my kid, I can only imagine what these other kids are getting. Because you're supposed to be on your P's and Q's because you know that these people are watching you and you're not. You're not. And it just blows my mind. Okay, so enough bitching about that. We're going to get back to makeup. I tried to color some of my lashes. And I'm going to show you that train wreck in just a second. So I took some lashes that I know that I love. And I took the Jeffree Star Liquid Lip in a couple of shades of green that I had. And I painted them last night. You ready to look at this crafty fail? I'm embarrassed. Hang on. I don't even know. Can you see it? So, to make them to where they're not like sticky, I also took this Divina Duochrome, which if you haven't tried Divina, you need to get you some because they're freaking amazing. This is Parthenos, Parthenos. I mean, look at that. So what I did was I dabbed some of that on a brush and dabbed it on these lashes just to try to make it to where it wasn't sticky. But before I get to that, I'm still going festive with these. And I have these two little stencils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stencil here. And then I'm going to draw. I'm going to try to draw like a couple holly leaves with like little hollies. Berries. Berries? Holly berries? Holly berries? Is that right? So you guys get to see how I kind of cheat and use my stencils because I can't draw. So these were in a square and they come in a sheet. I got these off of Amazon. They come in a giant sheet. Let me find it. Oh, my Lanta, come on. So they come in a giant sheet like this. And I just kind of cut out the ones that I want to use. And then I cut them a little bit smaller so that I'm not putting the whole square over my makeup, just because some of the makeup will come off because it's a sticker. I mean, it's a decal. So I try to make it as small as I possibly can. You don't want to cut them too thin though, because then when you're putting whatever color you want on the inside of it, it can brush off around it, and then you get like this halo of shadow around it. So you want to be careful how you trim these and how you use them. And if you haven't noticed, I had to cut all my fingernails off. So I'm adjusting to not having any freaking fingernails. Because at last turnouts last night, when I was taking the dogs out, there was a very hyperactive, jumpy, super excited pit bull. And he broke 2 of my fingernails. And so it looked retarded to have them, so I had to cut them all off. But now I'm struggling to use my fingernails. My new short ones. Finally, I got it. Okay, so just like I always do, I'm going to take this on the back of my hand. And this is going to make it to where it's not quite as sticky, so that I don't feel like I'm ripping my skin and my makeup off when I go to remove it. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I think this would be cute. I think we're just going to fit it right there. Close enough. I am going to use my NYX glitter glue. And it only takes a teeny tiny bit. You don't need a lot at all. And I'm going to grab a packer brush. So it's a stiff, flat packer brush. And that's just because I want to be really precise about where the shadow is going to be and where I want to put the glitter glue. So this is just a small packer brush. And I just dabbed into the glitter glue on it. And I'm just kind of patting it into the stencil just to create that sticky base. Okay, and now I'm going to go into my Give Me Glow Christmas palette, into this amazing silver that's right here. I'm going to use the same exact brush, and I'm just going to dig into that silver. I'm still going to dust it off, okay? And I'm just going to dab it just like I did the glitter glue. Kind of just stamp it. And I'm trying to be very precise as to where it goes. I'm trying to make sure that I get the edges really good so that it creates that crisp line. Okay, and I know that looks cray-cray, but please don't rip my eyebrows off. Please don't rip my eyebrows off. Please don't rip my eyebrows off. There it is. And you can even, like, if you want to, go around the stencil in like a black felt tip liner if you want to, just to like outline it, to define it a little bit more. And I probably should have done that. And I probably should have done that before I took the stencil off, but it's too late now. So I'm going to take, this is that green liner that you guys kept asking me about. And it is by Hard Candy. I kept saying NYX, and I'm sorry, it's by Hard Candy. And I got it at Walmart. It was not expensive at all, but it's like a paintbrush type green metallic. And this is what I'm going to use to try to draw my holly leaves. Don't judge me. Okay, so... Ooh. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh. And this is why I use stencils, because your girl can't draw. I mean, close enough. And then I'm just going to use the same thing, and I'm just going to fill it in. I will say this, as good as this stuff is, it does seem to be drying out quickly. Like, it is not as wet and paintbrushy as it, or inky, as it was when I first got it. But I have used it a lot. But I think a majority of the reason it's drying out like that too is because the way that the component is, like this is the ink, and because I'm using it, this is uncovered, and so it's like it dries out while I've got it open. Okay, so now I'm going to take just a small, tiny, if I can find it, there it is. So this is an itty bitty tiny paintbrush or brush. And I'm just going to use red liquid lip. This is by Black Moon. It is the shade DeVille. And I'm just going to take the tip of this, just a tip of this dotted paintbrush. And I'm going to use it to make the holly berries. Okay. Smells good too. Okay, so now we're going to do the other side. I have this like cute little present looking thing. And this one, to balance this out, we're going to do the opposite. This is going to go towards the outside and my holly is going to go up here. And again, I need to put it on the back of my hand so that it's not super, super sticky. Doesn't rip my skin off. I'm just going to place it where I think it would be cute. And because I did the silver balls, I'm going to do this gold. And again, I'm going to go into my Give Me Glow Christmas palette, and I'm going to use this gold right here. I'm going to use the same exact brush that I did to do this one. I'm just going to flip it over to the cleaner side that doesn't have the silver. I went back into my glitter glue that I had left over on the back of my hand. In the same process, I'm just going to dab, 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 dab. And that's just to create the tackiness, the stickiness, so that the glitter really has something to stick to. Okay, so I dabbed into the gold using the same brush. And I'm just going to press into the area that I want it to be in. Remember to concentrate really good on the edges. Notice I didn't do the top bow part. That's because, yet again, I'm going to go into my DeVille. I'm going to use this same tiny brush that I did. I will say another trick to this. Try not to put these designs in your crease. Anywhere that it's creased up, that will help to keep the design. I'm going to give this a second to dry, that liquid lipstick, just so that it doesn't bleed. And then take it off. And I got a little present. And you can reuse these. Like if you notice I'm putting this back on the backing, you can reuse them. As long as it still kind of has the sticky, you can reuse them over and over and over and over again. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the hard candy. Hard candy, not the NYX. I'm sorry, guys. The hard candy. And I'm going to put the holly leaves over here, kind of like I did with that. And I can't draw, so don't judge me. I don't even know. Oh, oh, oh. That was a rough one. That was a rough one. See, she's drying out already. Oh. Whew. Awkward silence, awkward silence. Don't forget to blink, because now my eyes are watering. And see, it's not great. It's really not great. But it's okay. Go back with my little dot in my DeVille. And try not to blink. I think. Oh, I don't want to fuck it up. All right, so now we're going to do a lip. I think something's wrong with comments. I haven't got a single comment on here. Did I screw something up? Oh. Oh. Oh, there it goes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I finally can see comments now. I don't know what happened, guys. Oh. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. Okay. So I got a new... I got dry skin. Oh, winter is coming. Oh, sorry, I had a dry skin patch right there. So I got a new lippy. It is by Sugar Pill. Shocker, right? It's in the shade Nurse, which is this matte red. And I thought it would just be super cute to go with my look. Oh, she red! So if you notice, I use the tip to line my lip again, just to get that crisp line, and then fill it in. She cute. So my lips aren't even, so I have to try to fake it. That's pretty. So that is Sugar Pill in the shade Nurse, if you're interested in that. Okay, so that's part of it. I am going to put on my green handmade lashes, and I might even add a little bit of like gold and silver little dots just to kind of fill in this little gap right here. But do you guys want to stay on and watch me do that, or are we over it already? Let me know. Do you want to watch me put lashes on and add the little gold dots? Or do you want me to do that off camera and then just post the final looks? Oh, Sita said yes. So I have this NYX Glitter Goals. I've had it for a really long time. It might be dried out. But it's just basically like a liquid glitter. And it's super chunky. So I kind of like get a chunk of it on the tip as best as I can. It's hard to see because it's glitter. Okay. And then I just kind of dot. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. Or no, like, pattern or anything. I'm just trying to be careful not to push too hard on the tip so that the dots don't get super big. Okay, alright, I'll do it, guys. There weren't a whole lot of comments and not a whole lot of people watching. I ain't trying to bore y'all. But I'll do it. Hell, I might put them on and fuck this whole look up. We'll see. Y'all know how lashes can go. It's a 50-50 chance. Okay. See, now it's all sparkly. All right, so if some of y'all, I noticed y'all were not on here before. Let me try to show these. So what I did was I took some lashes that I've had, that I love, that I've wore before, and last night I painted them with the oh, thank you. I painted them with the Jeffree Star Green Liquid Lip. Green. And then I went back over it with the Divina Duochrome Shadow. Just to make sure that it would be dry. And so I kind of made my own green green lashes. Don't judge me. I didn't want to buy more. Okay, thanks, guys. All right. I've been on for a long time. This has been a long one because this is a longer look, and I was very long-winded with my rant about what's been going on. So, all right. So just like always, I use the Kiss Strip Lash Adhesive in clear, and it's the one with aloe. It's my favorite, and it's latex free, which is great for me because I'm allergic to latex. And it just takes a thin coating. I see so many of these videos where they're like globbing the glue on there. You do not need that much glue, guys. The less, the better, in all honesty. And so while this is drying, I will take the two ends and I will roll it like this, and that helps shape it. Didn't Heart or Candy have a green mascara? I'm not sure, but I'm going to be real honest with y'all. I don't want to spend $3 or $4 on a mascara that I'm going to wear maybe twice and then it's going to dry out. Because mascaras only last 3 to 6 months. So this was cheaper. Because I have all the stuff already. Okay, so while it was drying and I was doing that little curvy thing, that helps shape it to my eye. And then I'm just going to barely grab it by the end of it. I'm going to tilt my head back, and you're going to see up my nose. Don't judge. I tilt my head back, and I angle my lash like this. So tilt my head back, angle my lash like this, and then I place it on where I want my lashes, okay? So tilt my head back. And then place. I try to place the inner corner where it's the most comfortable for me first, and then put on the outer corner. I have to put my lashes a little, I can't put them super close to my inner corner because when I blink, it hits the bottom and it just comes right up and it irritates me. Okay, so I place those on. Now I have these nifty little flat angled tweezers. I got these at Ulta. It took me a long time. It took me a long time to be able to do this. I take these and I just smush them to my lash line. You want to make sure that you've pushed them back to make sure that they're touching skin, not just your lashes, and then smush. And this is by smushing them, by smushing them, it helps to close up any gap that might be there. You know how sometimes you'll put them on and there's a giant gap of where it's sitting versus where your lash line is? But that's it. They're on. If this little gap part bothers people, like it bothers me, I will just go in and fill it in with liner. And I'll show y'all that in a minute. And I'll probably use green just so that it matches my lower lash line. Where did my other one go? I lost my other line. There it is. Okay, so same exact thing. And I mean, you can't really see that they're green, but you can in person. It's hard to capture that. Remember the questionable stuff I've put in my face just to keep buying sooner or more for my funky looks? Yeah, but you knock out some amazing looks, and you do it quite often. I just went 3 days and didn't do makeup at all because, you know, emotions, but whatever. I'm still practicing lashes, haven't mastered it. Sharon, it took me a really long time, and I had to try, like I tried all the techniques that were out there for placing. Some people have a lot more by holding the mirror down here and looking down in the mirror to place them so that their lids close down. Some people have better help that way. Me tilting my head back was easier for me. So you basically just need to find which angle you need to be looking at so that you can place it on your lash line. And my advice to anybody starting out with the new, get clear glue. Do not try to do this with the black glue because that black glue goes every freaking where. This is motivation. Girl, I can't wait to see you look. Okay, so just like I did the last time, I've got my thin layer of glue. I've rolled it back and forth to make it more curved. Tilt my head back. Angle my lashes. I'm going to place the inner corner first of where I need it to be. Like I said, I have to have them out just a little bit more. I cannot have them close to my inner right here because it'll just pop up that inner corner. I'm going to push back to make sure that it's on the actual skin, not just sitting on my lashes. Take my little smooshers and smush. Shmish. Oh, get on there. There we go. And they're on. I hope this prosthetic and sculpted turns out, and y'all know I'll share. See, you get all into it, girl, with prosthetics and all that. Hashtag goals, man. I cannot. Well, for one, I can't wear all the SFX stuff because 90% of it is latex. A lot of the paints and all of that, and I am severely allergic to latex, and I can't do latex. But I can't wait to see what you do, because that's exciting. All right, hours longer later, here we go, guys. This is it. So I am getting ready to go to the grocery store, and my lash doesn't feel secure. I don't know. I am going to take, why'd it go blurry? I am going to take a little bit of the green liner that I used on my bottom lash line, and I'm just going to run a little bit right here. Just to close up that little gap. Because like I said, I can't move my lashes all the way into my inner corner, or they'll just pop off. All right, so thanks for watching and listening to me complain about my messed up life. That's the whole reason of mentally unstable makeup. So find me on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, all that jazz, because your girl needs to get on a PR list because this is expensive. Love yourselves, love each other, and I can't wait to see your looks. So bye.